All right, this week we're going to look at factoring polynomials. Last week you worked on multiplying two binomials, and this week what we're doing is the exact opposite. So when you factor polynomials, you're undoing a multiplication. So let's take a look. Just as a quick review, last week one of the methods that you used was called the table method, and you took two binomials like these two, x plus 4 and x plus 3, and you put them into the table to multiply them. So again, just a quick review, you put x and plus 4, and you wrote it vertically like this, and x plus 3. And if you want to put the plus there, you can to help keep track. And one method was to multiply x times x to get x squared, and 4 times 3 to get 12. And then the last step was to cross multiply. X times 4 is 4x, and x times 3 is 3x, and when you add those two together, you get 7x. And if you remember, the last column was your answer. It was just written in the wrong order, because really the answer is x squared, that's this one, plus 7x, that's this one, plus 12, that's that one. So when you multiply two binomials, you got a polynomial or a trinomial, and the last one on the bottom was actually in the middle, and the middle one was actually at the end. Today what we're going to do is take something like this answer and work backwards to get these two binomials. And what that's called is factoring. You're factoring, or going backwards and taking a trinomial and factoring it into two binomials. So here's the first problem, x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now you might notice it's exactly the same as what we just did, but I'm going to demonstrate to you how you could take this trinomial and use the table method to factor that. So you start out by writing x squared plus 7x plus 12 in the last column in the right spot. So we're going to put x squared, the first term, first. The last term is going to go in the middle, and the middle term is going to go last. That's just how you write those terms in the last column to use this method. To factor x squared plus 7x plus 12 into two binomials, that's what we're trying to do, you look at the first term and figure out what two numbers multiply together to give me x squared. Well, there's only one possibility, and that's x times x. X times x is x squared. So you write x here and x there. In the next spot, you're trying to figure out what two numbers multiply to give you 12. Now, this is where there are a couple possibilities, but only one answer will work. For example, to get 12, you could multiply 1 times 12, or 2 times 6, or 3 times 4, or 4 times 3, or 6 times 2, or 12 times 1. The order is going to make a difference. So I'm just going to start, because I already know the answer, I'm going to start with 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Now that part's correct, but in order for this to work, you also have to be able to cross multiply and come up with 7x at the bottom. So if I cross multiply x times 3, I get 3x, and x times 4, I get 4x. If I add those together, I get 7x. So everything in this table works, and now the answer is just the first two columns. The answer is x plus 3 and x plus 4. And so I've taken this trinomial and I've factored it into two binomials. Now, if I didn't already know the answer, and we didn't already just do this, and I tried to do this from scratch by setting it up. And I said, well, x times x is x squared, and I said 1 times 12 is 12. That part's true. What you'll notice is, if I cross multiply, x times 1 is 1x, x times 12 is 12x. 1x plus 12x doesn't equal 7x, so this is not the answer. This cannot work. Same is true if I had chosen 2 and 6. 2x and 6x does not equal 7x. So the deal with factoring is you have to guess and check to try to find the correct answer, and there's no easy way to do it. There's no perfect way to give you the correct answer the first time. It's just try something. If it works, great. If it doesn't, try something else. So here's another one. R squared minus 13r plus 42. I want to factor this into two binomials. So I start by writing this part in the last column out of order. R squared goes first. The middle term in the middle of the box here is the last term, 42, and the middle term up here goes in the last spot. So I try to figure out what two numbers multiply to give me r squared, and there's only one possibility, r times r. Then I have to try to figure out what two numbers multiply to give me 42. Now, 1 times 42 is a possibility, 2 times 21, 3 times 14, 6 times 7, 7 times 6, 14. There's a whole bunch of possibilities. But one thing you need to notice is there's a negative here and a positive here. So I have to figure out two numbers that multiply to give me a positive 42, but that will add together to give me negative 13. And if two numbers multiply to give you a positive, but add to give you negative, that means both of them have to be negative. So I'm just going to guess. Now you could guess 1 times 42, 2 times 21. I'm just going to guess that it's 6 times 7. Negative 6 times negative 7 is positive 42. That works. And now I check the cross multiplication. R times negative 6 is negative 6r. R times negative 7 is negative 7r. And when I add those two together, I get negative 13r. So it works. So I've figured out all the work in the table. Now I have to write my answer out. My answer is this column, r minus 6, and this column, r minus 7. And that's it. I have factored this polynomial or this trinomial into two binomials. Okay, let's do one more. Here's another trinomial, p squared plus 3p minus 40. So I'm going to start out by writing p squared, that goes in the first box. The middle term is last, and the last term is in the middle. All right, two things that multiply together to give me p squared has to just be p times p. And again, as a reminder, we're trying to figure out what the two binomials will be if I factor this trinomial. Now, this one's different from the last one. There's a plus here in the middle and a minus here at the end. So I have to figure out what two numbers multiply together to give me negative 40. And the only way I'm going to be able to get a negative answer when I multiply two numbers together is if one of them is positive and one of them is negative. Then, when I cross multiply down here, these two have to be add together to give me 3p. So, again, possibilities are 1 times 40, 2 times 20, 4 times 5, oops, not 4 times 5, 5 times 8, 4 times 10 is what I meant. And as you do these and you practice them more and more, you start to see the pattern. And what you might notice is the difference between 5 and 8 is 3, which is what we're trying to get down here. So I'm just going to throw the 5 and the 8 in here and see what happens. Again, when you're factoring, there's no trick. There's no quick and easy way to do it. You just have to try something, see if it works. If it does, great. If it doesn't, move on to the next option. So 5 times negative 8 is negative 40. And when I cross multiply, positive 5 times p is 5p. Negative 8 times p is negative 8p. And when I add 5 and negative 8, I get negative 3p, not positive. So that doesn't work. But if I switch these, and I made the 8 positive and the 5 negative, negative 5 times positive 8 is still negative 40. Then when I cross multiply, I get negative 5p and positive 8p. Those two added together equal positive 3p. And now it works. And again, once you've filled in the table and get it to work out right, the answer is the first column and the second column. So it's p minus 5 and p plus 8. That is this trinomial factored into these two binomials. And that's it. Now, that was super fast, but the benefit of watching a video is that if you need to, you can go back and watch the whole thing all over again, or just watch part of it, or zip through to the part where you're confused. But that's factoring polynomials into two binomials.